So we have another day in our War of 1812 reader, and we know that great readers like Zendaya underline or take notes to help them remember important information from their nonfiction texts. So today we get to do that in another chapter of our War of 1812 reader together. We're going to write down that important information to make sure we're understanding the War of 1812 as best as we possibly can. You know what that means. I'm going to take notes up here, and you need to get some pencil and paper so you can take notes too. So if you don't already have it, go get it. Now, go. As I read, you're going to track those words, and you know we're going to stop like great readers do at the end of every page to ask ourselves what important information we just learned. And then we're going to write that important information down to help ourselves better understand our text. You got your pencil and paper? You're going to need those notes because at the end you're going to have a quiz that these notes are super duper going to come in handy for. All right, let's dive into our reader. Track the words as I read. Chapter 9, Andrew Jackson. After the Battle of Baltimore, both sides began to get tired of the war. They called a meeting. Men from both sides sat down to try to form a peace treaty. This is a kind of document where they agree to keep things peaceful. But in the meantime, the war went on. The British sent troops to attack the city of New Orleans on the Gulf of Mexico. Let's check this picture out. New Orleans. We see lots of boats. So that tells us a little bit about what New Orleans looks like. But we just got to the end of a whole page of text. What important information did we learn on this page? Let's look back in our text and see. Oh yeah, there was a peace treaty and then some troops. So we know from this page that while trying to form a peace treaty, the British sent troops to attack New Orleans. Let's write that down on your paper. You got it. Flip the page. Track as I read. You can see why New Orleans is an important place if you look at the map on the next page. The city is located at the mouth of the Mississippi River, right where the river drains into the Gulf of Mexico. From New Orleans, you can travel north along the Mississippi River. You can also turn off onto other rivers that feed into the Mississippi, like the Ohio River. These rivers are like highways that lead right into the middle of North America. Do you see those blue rivers in our picture to the right? Yeah, it almost looks like a tree, and ships could take all those to get to all different parts of the country. Let's keep reading. In 1814, New Orleans was already an important big port. We know those are the cities where shipping happens. Lots of ships landed there. Farmers could ship their goods down the river and sell them in New Orleans. Traders could unload their goods in New Orleans and ship them up the river. New Orleans was an important city, not only for the people who had homes there, but also for farmers up the river in places like Ohio and Kentucky. If the British took New Orleans, they could control trade along the Mississippi River. Farmers in Ohio and Kentucky would be cut off. The Americans could not let this happen. They sent an army to defend the city. The army was led by a man named Andrew Jackson. We are at the end of a page, so let's ask ourselves, what important information did we just learn? This page was about New Orleans. Why is New Orleans important? Let's go back to our text and look. Yeah, New Orleans was an important port city with rivers to lots of other cities that the U.S. could not let the British control. So they sent an army to defend the city. And we saw all of that in our picture with our photograph in our caption of the Mississippi River leading to those other rivers. Write it down. Great. We know that those great readers are taking notes. Let's keep it up. Track as I read. Andrew Jackson was from Tennessee. He had joined the U.S. Army during the American Revolution. At that time, he was just a boy. He was too young to fight, so he carried notes from place to place. During the Revolution, Jackson and his brother were taken prisoner by the British. It was a difficult time for them. They were treated badly. They almost starved to death. Jackson's brother got sick and died. While he was a prisoner, Jackson had a run-in with a British officer. The man ordered Jackson to clean his boots. Jackson was proud and stubborn, so he refused. The man shouted at Jackson. Still, Jackson refused. The man struck Jackson with his weapon. Jackson was left with a scar on his face. As a result of this, Andrew Jackson had no love for the British. He was happy to fight them again as an army general when the War of 1812 broke out. So, to the right we see this photograph. Let's read the caption together. Andrew Jackson. So we see a picture of him. This page definitely taught us a lot about Andrew Jackson, but why was Andrew Jackson important? So Andrew Jackson, who had been taken prisoner by the British and treated really badly, was happy to fight the British as an army general in the War of 1812. Let's make sure we write that important information that we just learned about Andrew Jackson down. And now it's time to flip the page. Jackson had not been trained as a soldier, but he was bold and strong. His mother had died when he was young. He had gotten by on his own as an orphan. That's someone without parents. He had made his own way in life. During the first part of the War of 1812, Jackson battled against Native Americans in the West. Many Native Americans had sided with the British. Jackson's men called him Old Hickory because he was as strong as a knotty old piece of hickory wood. In 1814, Old Hickory was given an important job. He was told to raise an army to protect New Orleans. Jackson rushed to the city. He picked up new troops along the way. Many of the men who joined him were farmers, but there were also free African Americans, Native Americans, and even pirates. When Jackson arrived, he ordered his ragtag army to set up walls and get ready for an attack. Then they waited. Let's check this picture out. Read the caption with me. Andrew Jackson on horseback. This was a lot of information. So what's some important information you learned on this page? Tell me. Yeah, so Jackson, who was called Old Hickory because he was really tough, like a tough piece of wood, made an army of farmers, African Americans, Native Americans, and pirates, and he waited for the attack. I can't wait to see what happens next in our reader. But that is the end of the chapter today. So, great readers, way to take those awesome notes. We have so many important details from chapter 9 on Andrew Jackson, and now it's time to show what you know. So, in your quiz, make sure you read every question twice, because we know reading twice makes sure we understand what the question's actually asking us. And then go back into those notes, find your evidence, improve your answer right, and then select the answer that matches your notes. You got this, second grade. Go get them.